Welcome back to Paddy and Phil's Keep It Simple Stupid Cooking. And it's autumn in Adelaide, and guess what? Yes, the nights are getting chilly, the days are getting rainy, so it's time to cook a beef stew in my Metters stove. The first thing we've got to do, of course, is to get our Metters stove fired up and off and running. And as you'll see, I've already loaded her up with a bit of wood and just starting to get the fire going. Refer back to my earlier video on how to fire up a Metters oven for more details on how to set it up correctly. Did I mention that it's autumn in Adelaide and it gets a little chilly and occasionally rains? Well, believe me, this is the first rain we've had for months, and while it's not pouring down like the eastern states, it's dripping fairly constantly. And of course, dear Paddy had put out the washing this morning, which is guaranteed to bring the rain. We've got all the beef in now, and it's starting to heat up a bit. You can certainly hear the sizzle of the meat, and what we're looking for is like this piece, trying to just get a little bit of colour on the meat without burning it too far. Once we've done that, we're going to remove it from the pan and put the onions and garlic in and get that going. Okay, after our beef is browned off, we remove it from the pan and then put our 2 onions and garlic into the pan, and a little bit of extra olive oil. The onions are pretty coarsely cut. They don't have to be fine or anything. They're going to cook for, this stew is going to cook for probably at least 3 hours, maybe longer. Everything will break down quite well. So we're just putting the onions in there to caramelise those a bit. By the way, the beef, I forgot to mention earlier, the beef John's meat is actually chuck steak, which is a perfect cut for stew. We now take some of this mythical leftover wine from last night and deglaze the pan. It's not too hot in here, but we're going to put a generous pour to deglaze as best as we can. Don't have to be too fussy because we're going to add beef stock shortly as well, but we're just going to try to scrape some of the matter off the bottom of the pan like so, and then we'll add back our beef that we cooked along with any reserved flour in the bottom. Flour will actually help thicken the stew over time. So place that back in, give it a stir around. It's already beginning to smell pretty darn good. So that's coming up to the boil already, which is quite good. We are then going to add the previously made, as the sign says, beef stock, again from some of John's great meat. In this case it was beef neck that we make this stock out of. Basically cook it with no seasonings or anything added. Cook it for a good 24 hours and then put it in these Chinese takeaway containers or whatever you want to call them. But there's a good 4 cups of beef stock have gone in. Of course, while we're waiting for our stew to come on the boil, for the ice blocks to melt and for it to come back to the boil, what a better time than now to enjoy a delicious Adelaide's own Cooper's Brewery original pale ale. This is the bee's knees. This is good beer for autumn, good beer for winter, good beer for spring, good beer for summer, and it makes the best beer batter for South Australian King George whiting. Cheers to that. Okay, while I'm waiting for that to come back up on the boil before I add the vegetables, I'm going to add the seasonings. I have here a bag of grass. It's a bouquet garni of rosemary from my yard, thyme from my yard, and a couple of bay leaves. So that's going to go in. It's just easier to remove and not have the twiggy bits hang around later on. That won't be enough flavour for this amount of stew, so I'll add a good generous amount of McCormick's Italian herbs, and we'll also put at this stage a nice splash of, you know, probably 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. So the time has come, it's just starting to bubble slightly, so we're going to try to carefully add our vegetables into the mix. And as I say, it's sort of fairly coarsely cut celery, potato, this white stuff is turnip, and a good dose of carrots. Now there is quite a lot of vegetable, so I'm trying to be careful to add those. Quite a lot of vegetable, and you'll see that the liquid level now has risen to about 1.5 centimetres from the top of the container. Now that may seem like a lot of liquid, but this is going to cook, as I say, for at least 3 hours, possibly longer. And I'm going to cook it largely with the lid off, which will reduce that liquid level to hopefully make a nice chunky thick stew in the end. So make a mental note of that, about 1.5 centimetres, and we'll see where we are when we come back. Okay, it didn't take long on the Metters stove with the retro burner going there for the heat to really get up, and as you can see it's boiling away quite strongly at the moment. So what we need to do now, because we want to simmer, and we can't, it's not gas, not that horrible pollutant gas that Victoria won't have. We can't take the coals out, so what we need to do is carefully shift our Dutch oven away using our tool, Metters tool. Try to pick up the round plate and put it back down over the top. So what's going to happen now is it's indirect heat, you would say, and so at the moment our Dutch oven's very hot. The base of it, of course, is cast iron, so we're just going to keep it on the side there, and that will slowly slow down from boiling and just simmer for about the next 3 hours or so. So after about 3 hours or so,